The atmosphere inside the first-class cabin of a luxury international flight was calm, at least at first. The hum of the engines filled the air as flight attendants moved gracefully through the aisles, catering to the needs of their well-heeled passengers. Among them was Elon Musk, casually dressed in a dark blazer over a plain t-shirt, scrolling through his phone as he settled into his first-class seat. For most, he was just another wealthy traveler, blending in with the elite crowd. But the energy in the cabin shifted the moment a U.S. Army escort walked down the aisle. Dressed in full uniform, the soldier carried himself with quiet dignity, his face solemn and composed. Behind him, airline staff carefully transported a flag-draped casket into the cargo hold, a sight that should have commanded nothing but respect and reverence. Most passengers glanced up briefly, acknowledging the escort's presence before returning to their champagne and in-flight entertainment. But not everyone reacted with dignity. A group of entitled business-class passengers, seated just behind Elon, exchanged smug glances and let out annoyed sighs as they saw the uniformed soldier take his seat in coach. "This is ridiculous," muttered a sharply dressed woman in her 40s, rolling her eyes. "They're really making a big deal out of this? We paid thousands for these seats, and we have to deal with this patriotic display?" Her companion, a man in an expensive Italian suit, chuckled in agreement. "Yeah, it's unnecessary. He's not even sitting up here. What's the point of the dramatics?" Another man, younger, probably in his early 30s, sneered as he sipped his drink. "You'd think the airline would keep this kind of thing private. I mean, sure, respect and all that, but why inconvenience the rest of us?" The flight attendants visibly tensed at the remarks, but said nothing, knowing that wealthy customers often came with wealthy egos. Seated nearby, Elon Musk had heard every word. At first, he simply continued scrolling through his phone, expression unreadable. But if anyone had looked closely, they would have noticed the subtle shift in his demeanor, a tightening of his jaw, a flicker of something sharp in his eyes. The soldier being disrespected wasn't just anyone. He was someone's son, father, brother, or husband. And to Musk, there were few things more disgraceful than disrespecting a fallen hero. As the boarding process continued, Elon remained silent, observing. But inside, he was already making a decision, one that would leave everyone speechless before the plane even took off. The murmurs of discontent from the entitled passengers continued, their complaints growing louder as the plane prepared for takeoff. The soldier escort sat quietly in his seat, his gaze fixed forward, his hands clasped together in silent contemplation. He had seen and heard plenty in his service, but disrespect like this never got easier. Meanwhile, Elon Musk set his phone down, his mind made up. He unbuckled his seatbelt and stood, adjusting his blazer before making his way down the aisle toward the uniformed soldier, sitting in coach. The murmuring passengers watched with mild curiosity at first, assuming Musk was just stretching his legs. But when he stopped beside the soldier's seat and spoke, their curiosity turned into stunned silence. "Excuse me, sir," Musk said, his voice calm but commanding. "I believe there's been a mistake." The soldier escort looked up, slightly puzzled. "A mistake, sir?" Musk nodded. "Yes, you shouldn't be sitting here. You should be up front, in first class." A hush fell over the surrounding passengers as whispers broke out among them. The entitled travelers from earlier looked on in disbelief, exchanging confused glances. The soldier shook his head politely. "I appreciate the gesture, Mr. Musk, but I'm fine here. Really." Musk, however, wouldn't hear it. "No, you're not fine here. A man who serves his country with honor shouldn't be sitting in the back, while people who complain about inconvenience sip champagne up front." He gestured toward his own first-class seat, still unoccupied. "That's your seat now." The soldier hesitated, looking around at the wide-eyed passengers, now hanging onto every word. A flight attendant standing nearby quickly caught on. "Mr. Musk, are you offering your seat to the escort?" "Yes," Musk confirmed without hesitation. "And I want to make sure he gets whatever service I was supposed to have. If the airline needs compensation, charge it to me." Gasps and murmurs spread through the cabin like wildfire. Who just gives up a first-class seat? on an international flight. The entitled passengers from earlier were visibly uncomfortable. The woman who had complained about the patriotic display shrank in her seat, suddenly finding her drink very interesting. The man who had sneered about the inconvenience of it all shifted awkwardly. The flight attendant nodded, looking at the soldier. "Sir, if you'd like to move to first class, we can arrange that immediately." Still hesitant, the escort glanced around, as if unsure whether he should accept. But then he locked eyes with Musk, who gave him a look of quiet insistence, one that made it clear this was not about pity. It was about respect. Finally, the soldier stood and nodded. "All right, sir. Thank you." As he gathered his things and made his way toward the front of the plane, the entire coach cabin erupted into applause. Even passengers who had been unaware of the earlier remarks now understood what had just happened. Musk returned to coach, taking the now empty seat left by the escort. He sat down, leaned back, and pulled out his phone again as if nothing had happened. But the atmosphere in the plane had shifted completely. Meanwhile, up in first class, the soldier settled into Elon Musk's former seat, where he was soon greeted by a flight attendant offering him the finest service the airline had to offer. But the most dramatic reaction came from the entitled passengers from earlier. They sat frozen in stunned silence, their expressions a mix of guilt and embarrassment. They had mocked the honor of a fallen soldier, only to witness one of the wealthiest and most influential men in the world humble himself in the name of respect. Yet Elon Musk wasn't done yet. Something even more unbelievable was about to happen, and it would leave every passenger on that plane speechless. A quiet hush settled over the plane as the shock of Elon Musk's gesture rippled through the passengers. But as the soldier escort settled into first class, something even more unbelievable was about to happen. As Musk relaxed in his new coach seat, the entitled passengers who had been complaining earlier sat in awkward silence. The woman who had sneered at the inconvenience of honoring a fallen soldier now sat rigid, her eyes fixed on her lap. The man who had scoffed at the delay shifted uncomfortably, avoiding eye contact with anyone around him, but Musk wasn't done yet. A flight attendant approached him cautiously. "Mr. Musk, would you like something to drink? I know you had a first-class reservation." Musk waved her off with a small smile. "No, thank you. I'm good here." Just then, the entitled man from earlier, the one who had been the most vocal about his annoyance, cleared his throat and leaned toward Musk. Mr. Musk, I just wanted to say that was, really something." Musk glanced at him. "Was it?" His voice was neutral, unreadable. The man swallowed hard, then glanced toward the front of the plane, where the soldier escort now sat comfortably, being served by the attentive first-class crew. "Yeah, I guess I didn't really think about what that guy was doing. I mean, he's just flying with a casket, right?" Musk's eyes darkened slightly. "No," he said. "He's not just flying with a casket. He's bringing home someone who gave everything for this country. And the least we can do, the absolute least, is show some respect." The man nodded slowly, shame washing over his face. The woman beside him bit her lip, looking down as if she wished she could disappear. And then, one by one, something unexpected began to happen. Across the cabin, passengers began standing up. First, a young man near the window, then an older woman in the aisle seat, then another and another. They weren't going to the restroom. They weren't stretching their legs. They were walking forward, one by one, toward the first-class section. And each one of them, as they passed the soldier escort, paused to shake his hand, to thank him, to offer their respect. The soldier, overwhelmed, could barely speak. His eyes shone with emotion as he shook each hand, nodding in appreciation. He wasn't just representing his fallen comrade. He was carrying the weight of an entire nation's gratitude. Even the entitled passengers, now clearly embarrassed by their earlier behavior, hesitated before finally standing. The woman who had been rolling her eyes just minutes ago slowly walked forward. She didn't say anything, but she placed a trembling hand over her heart as she passed the escort's seat. The man who had mocked the whole situation? He gave a small but genuine nod, murmuring a quiet, "Thank you for your service." Back in coach, Elon Musk simply watched. He had said what he needed to say. The rest had taken care of itself. By the time the plane landed, the atmosphere was entirely different from what it had been at the start. The bitter complaints were gone, replaced by a quiet respect. The soldier escort had gone from being a forgotten figure in the back of the plane to the most important person on board. And as he stepped off the plane, still in disbelief at the outpouring of gratitude, he turned back for a final glance. Elon Musk was still sitting in coach, his head tilted slightly as he scrolled through his phone. But for a brief moment, he looked up and met the soldier's eyes. The two men exchanged a single nod. No words were needed. Respect had been given and received. But just as Musk was gathering his things, a flight attendant hurried over with a stunned expression. "Mr. Musk, I just got a message from the airline." Musk raised an eyebrow. "And?" The flight attendant shook her head in disbelief. "They just upgraded you to first class, permanently. Every flight, every time, no charge." The passengers around him gasped. Musk? Upgraded for life? Musk chuckled, shaking his head. "That's a nice gesture. But you know what? Next time, let's save those upgrades for the people who really deserve them." And with that, he grabbed his bag, adjusted his blazer, and walked off the plane. Because at the end of the day, true leadership isn't about power, status, or privilege. It's about knowing when to step aside so someone else can have the seat they deserve. What started as just another flight turned into a powerful lesson about respect, sacrifice, and true leadership. Elon Musk didn't just give up his seat, he set an example that changed the entire atmosphere of that plane. In a world where so many people focus only on themselves, one simple act of humility and gratitude reminded everyone on board what really matters. This story is a reminder that sometimes the smallest gestures can have the biggest impact. A handshake, a simple thank you, a moment of recognition for those who have given everything for their country. So, what would you have done in this situation? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And if this story moved you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss another powerful story like this one. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.